So this is Cornelia. She's one of our pilgrims on the 2014 Holy Land pilgrimage. He's a transitional deacon and canon of the ordinary in Navajo land. And today I asked her to serve as my deacon, which she did an excellent job doing. And it just happens to be at Mount Tabor where we say the Transfiguration occurred, and she read that gospel. And then she shared this story, and I've asked her if she would share it again with you about what that meant for her to be able to do that in this chapel.
Well, the story I shared was a story about my father, and both me and my father, an experience that we had together long ago before he passed on. And it was about probably a month before he died, and when we had this experience together. I told a story about today. It was such an honor to be asked to be deacon today, and that it was an honor to read Matthew 17, 1 through 9, I believe. And when I read that, it was a very strong and spiritual moment for me, because the story that I'm going to share with you relates to that in a Navajo traditional way. It was a day when my mother had to do a morning prayer at St. Michael's, and she had asked me if I could go out to the Cheska Mountains with my dad. And my dad was very ill at that time, and he was going to meet with a medicine man who was going to do a dry painting ceremony for him. And I wasn't sure what to do at that time. I was going through my own conflict of, spirituality, the Diné spirituality and the Christian, and so I was trying to find my place. And so I agreed. I told my mom that I would take my father, because at that time I felt like I was getting farther away from my Navajo traditions, the ceremonies, the prayers, and I wasn't sure if what was right, what was wrong, and it was, very young. I was having a very hard time with spirituality. And that day I took my father. It was on a Sunday morning, and I took my father up to the mountain. And the medicine man that we met was, he had a hogan, a traditional mud hogan there, up in the mountains. And I drove my dad there through miles and miles of juniper brushes and sage and cedar and everything, so it was very beautiful. And when we got there, the chanter said to me, he was doing the dry sand painting, and he said, why don't you help me on this side and do the dry painting on this side? All you have to do is make the lines, he says. And I just looked at him and I said, I don't know. I said, I don't think I'll mess up. I said, that's what I said, I'll mess up. And he just looked at me and he says, all right. So he went along, and I watched him create this dry sand painting, and it was very large. And after a while, my dad sat on it, and so the sand painting consisted of many colors, mainly black and white, yellow, and red. And so my dad sat on it. The medicine man did the prayers and songs and chanted for about a good hour. And afterwards, he when my dad got off the sand painting, he destroyed the sand painting, and he put it in a bucket. And he said to me, okay, so he says, I want you to go out and to give the sand painting back to the earth, and give thanks when you're over there. Just put it underneath one of the juniper brushes. So I got up and I said, which juniper brush? And he looked at me again, then he said, you'll know which one. Just go out there and offer your prayers. So I walked out there and I came across a juniper brush, and I placed it there and I offered my prayers. And I was walking back to the hogan. Usually hogans are to the east, a doorway. And I was walking back in, and my dad was sitting at the far end of the hogan with the medicine man sitting next to him. And my dad was very sick. He had this shallow breathing, and I looked in, and as soon as I was walking into that door, I could just see him glowing, and he had this glow all over him. And I walked in, and he looked at me. We made eye contact. I smiled at him, and he smiled at me. And at that moment, I just had the words that was spoken today in the gospel that was said to us, that I am well pleased. I'm well pleased with you. That changed my whole life right there. And to come in here and to read the gospel was another type of transfiguration, transformation. And I think that I felt called to this place again, to meet up to that place of transfiguration once again. It was different for me. At first it was in the Navajo tradition, and now it's in the Christian tradition.
Well,
and how the two just
what I love about you sharing this story, and why I'm so thankful you shared it here, is that you've shown us that though we're in the Holy Land, Holy Land is everywhere, and this is the great wonder of our God that we worship, is Holy Land is everywhere. So Cornelia, thank you very much.